The apartment key had been sitting in Maya Rodriguez's jewelry box for 6 months, a small piece of brass that represented 3 years of her life she'd rather forget. She'd changed the locks the day after she left Connor, but his old key remained, partly because she'd forgotten about it, partly because throwing it away felt too final, too much like acknowledging how bad things had been. Now standing in her bright, plant-filled Seattle apartment that Connor had never seen, Maya pulled out the key and stared at it. She'd been cleaning, organizing, trying to decide what deserved space in her new life and what needed to be let go. The key definitely needed to go. She was heading toward the trash when her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya's stomach tightened. She'd gotten good at recognizing the patterns. Unknown numbers were either spam or Connor using yet another burner phone to get around the blocks she'd placed against her better judgment. She answered, "Hello, Maya." Connor's voice, smooth and familiar, sent ice through her veins. "I need to talk to you." "We have nothing to talk about," Maya said, proud that her voice stayed steady. "I've told you this. Don't call me again. I just need 5 minutes," Connor continued as if she hadn't spoken. "I left some things at your old apartment when we separated. I'd like to get them back." "I don't have anything of yours," Maya replied. "I packed up your belongings and had them sent to your office months ago." "Not everything," Connor said. "I had a spare key to your place. My apartment key was on the same ring, the one to my storage unit where I keep my grandfather's things." "I need it back, Maya. It's important." Maya looked down at the key in her hand. She didn't remember Connor having a storage unit, didn't recall any grandfather's belongings he'd been sentimental about. This felt like a manipulation, another excuse to force contact. "Mail me your address and I'll send it," Maya said. "I'm in Seattle," Connor replied, and Maya's blood went cold. "Flew in this morning for a work conference. I could just stop by and pick it up, save you the trouble of mailing it." "No," Maya said immediately. "Absolutely not, Connor. You're not coming to my apartment. Give me a mailing address or forget about the key." "Maya, be reasonable," Connor said, his tone shifting to that dangerous patient tone she remembered too well. "I'm not asking for much. Just my property back, 5 minutes at your door, and I'll be out of your life." "You are out of my life," Maya replied. "And you're staying out. I'll mail the key. That's the only option." She hung up before he could respond. Her hands shaking. Connor was in Seattle. He'd somehow found out she was here, tracked her down despite all her precautions. The key was just an excuse. He wanted to see where she lived, wanted access, wanted to prove he could still reach her. Maya immediately called Detective Sarah Chen, the officer who'd helped her file the restraining order back in Portland before she'd moved to Seattle. "Connor called," Maya said without preamble when Sarah answered. "He's in Seattle, says he wants to pick up a key he left at my old place, but Sarah, I don't think that's what this is really about." "Did he ask for your address?" Sarah asked, all business. "No, but he implied he knows I'm in Seattle. He said he could stop by to get the key. I told him to mail me an address, but you don't trust that he'll actually respect that boundary," Sarah finished. "Maya, I'm going to contact Seattle PD and make sure they have your information on file. The Portland restraining order is valid across state lines. But having local officers aware of the situation helps. If Connor shows up at your residence, call 911 immediately." After hanging up with Sarah, Maya sat on her couch, the apartment key still in her hand. She should throw it away, refuse to engage, block Connor's number again. But something about having this small piece of leverage, something he wanted, felt important. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I know you're scared of me, Maya, but I'm not the monster you've made me out to be. I just want what's mine. The key, that's all." Maya took a screenshot, forwarded it to Detective Chen, then blocked the number. 2 minutes later, another text from a different number. "You can't block me forever. I'm not going away until I get what I need." She was screenshotting and blocking that number when someone knocked on her door. Maya froze, her heart racing. It was 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Her building had secure entry, which meant whoever was knocking either lived here or had been buzzed in by another resident. Through the peephole, she saw her neighbor from across the hall, Ethan Brooks, the quiet architect who'd helped her move in 3 months ago and occasionally borrowed sugar for his absurd baking projects. Maya opened the door to the chain lock. "Ethan, everything okay?" "That's what I was going to ask you," Ethan said, his expression concerned. There was a guy in the hallway about 10 minutes ago checking apartment numbers. When he got to yours, he stopped and just stood there for a while. Made me uncomfortable enough that I came out and asked if I could help him find something. Maya's stomach dropped. What did he look like? Tall. Maybe 6'1", dark hair, expensive suit. Said he was looking for a friend but had the wrong building. But Maya, the way he looked at your door, it wasn't casual. It was focused, calculating. And when I stepped out, he left immediately like he didn't want to be seen. Connor had been outside her door. Did he leave? Maya asked, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. Yeah, took the stairs down, but Maya, if someone's bothering you, you should tell building security. That guy gave me bad vibes. Maya made a split-second decision. Ethan had been kind to her, respectful, never pushing boundaries despite what she suspected was interest. And right now she needed someone who knew what Connor looked like, someone who could be a witness if this escalated. That was my ex-boyfriend, Maya said quietly. I left him 6 months ago, moved here to get away from him. He called earlier saying he wanted to pick up something he left at my old place. And I guess he decided to just show up instead. Ethan's expression went from concerned to protective. Does he know which apartment is yours? I don't know, Maya admitted. My name isn't on the buzzer directory. I registered under a different name for privacy. But if he got into the building somehow, if someone let him in, then he knows what floor at minimum, Ethan finished. Maya, do you have a restraining order? From Portland, where I used to live. I've already called the detective there and she's contacting Seattle PD, but Maya's voice broke slightly. But restraining orders are just paper. They don't actually stop someone who's determined. No, they don't, Ethan agreed. But they give you legal recourse if he violates them. And Maya, for what it's worth, you're not alone in this. I work from home most days. If you need someone to check that a person at your door is actually who they say they are, or if you just need backup, I'm right across the hall. You don't have to, Maya started. I know I don't have to, Ethan interrupted gently. But I'm offering anyway. Look, I don't know your full situation, and you don't owe me any explanations, but I do know that guy checking out your door made my instincts scream danger, and I'm not comfortable ignoring that. Maya felt tears threatening. She'd been so careful about staying isolated, not letting anyone in, not depending on anyone, but the genuine concern in Ethan's expression, the offer of help without demands or expectations. It made her realize how exhausting it was to handle everything alone. Thank you, Maya said quietly. Really, that means more than you know. After Ethan returned to his apartment, Maya called building security and reported the incident. They promised to alert the front desk and review security footage to see how Connor had gained access. An hour later, security called back, Ms. Rodriguez, we found the footage. Your visitor followed another resident through the main entrance when they came in with groceries. He went straight to the 5th floor, your floor, and spent approximately 4 minutes outside your door before your neighbor confronted him. We've added his image to our security alert system. If he attempts to enter the building again, we'll call police immediately. 4 minutes, Maya repeated. What was he doing for 4 minutes? The angle doesn't show clearly, but it appears he was examining your door lock and possibly taking photos of the apartment number. Maya felt sick. Connor hadn't just found her building, he'd studied her door, documented her exact location, established that she lived on the 5th floor in apartment 507. Her phone buzzed, another unknown number, nice building, good security, but not perfect. Nothing's perfect, Maya. You should remember that. The threat was implicit but clear. Connor was telling her he'd been there. He knew where she lived, and security wouldn't stop him. Maya forwarded the text to Detective Chen, then did something she'd been avoiding for months. She called her brother Marcus, the only family member who knew why she'd really left Connor. Maya, Marcus answered immediately. What's wrong? You never call during work hours. Connor found me, Maya said, her voice shaking. He's here in Seattle. He came to my building, Marcus. I don't know what to do. I'm booking a flight right now, Marcus said without hesitation. I can be there by tonight, Maya. You're not dealing with this alone. Not again. You don't have to, Maya started. Yes, I do, Marcus interrupted firmly. You're my sister. Connor's a dangerous creep who terrorized you for 3 years. I should have done more to help you the first time. I'm not making that mistake again. After Marcus confirmed his flight details, Maya sat in her apartment trying to decide what to do. The smart thing would be to pack a bag and leave. Stay somewhere Connor couldn't find her until he left Seattle. But running again felt like admitting defeat, like letting Connor control her life, even from a distance. She was still debating when someone knocked on her door. Maya froze, then carefully approached the peephole. Ethan stood there holding a small bag, his expression calm but alert. Maya opened the door to the chain. "Ethan." "I made dinner," Ethan said, holding up the bag. "Probably more than I can eat alone. Thought you might want company, or at least a meal you don't have to cook after what's probably been a stressful afternoon." Maya wanted to say no, wanted to maintain her careful distance, but the thought of eating alone in her apartment, jumping at every sound, constantly checking her phone for threatening texts, that sounded worse than accepting help from a kind neighbor. "Okay," she said, unlocking the chain. "Thank you." As Ethan set out containers of what looked like homemade pasta and salad, Maya found herself explaining more than she'd intended. The 3 years with Connor, the gradual escalation from charming to controlling to frightening, the night she'd finally left while he was at a work dinner, the 6 months of looking over her shoulder. "And now he's here," Maya finished. "In my city. At my building outside my door. I moved across 3 states to get away from him, and it wasn't far enough." "That's not your failure," Ethan said firmly. "That's him being obsessive and refusing to accept boundaries, Maya. You did everything right. You left, you changed cities, you protected yourself. The fact that he tracked you down doesn't mean you didn't do enough, it means he's dangerous." "I know that logically," Maya said, "but it doesn't stop me from feeling like I should have been more careful, covered my tracks better." "You can't be expected to disappear completely," Ethan interrupted. "How you have a life, a job, a right to exist without being in hiding. This isn't on you." Maya's phone buzzed again. Another text. "The key." "Maya, that's all I want. Give me the key and I'll leave you alone, I promise." "That's him again, isn't it?" Ethan asked, seeing her expression. Maya nodded. Showing him the message. "He keeps texting from different numbers, says he just wants a key he left at my old place, that he'll leave me alone if I give it to him. But I don't believe him. I think the key is just an excuse. He wants access, wants to prove he can still reach me." "Do you have this key?" Ethan asked. Maya pulled it from her pocket, the brass glinting in the kitchen light. "I was going to throw it away this morning, then he called." Ethan looked at the key thoughtfully. "What if you used it as bait?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, Connor wants the key, says he'll leave you alone if you give it to him, which is probably a lie. But let's pretend for a moment it's true. What if you arrange to meet him somewhere public with witnesses and handed over the key in exchange for him signing a document agreeing to cease all contact?" "He'd never sign anything like that," Maya said. "Maybe not," Ethan agreed. "But making the offer documents your good faith effort to resolve this peacefully. And if he refuses or if he violates any agreement, it's more evidence that he's harassing you, not attempting legitimate property recovery." Maya considered it. The key felt like power somehow, something Connor wanted that she had control over, using it strategically instead of just giving in or running away. Appealed to something in her that was tired of being powerless. "I'd need a lawyer to draft something," Maya said slowly. "And witnesses, and it would have to be very public." "I know a lawyer," Ethan offered. "She specializes in family law and protective orders, and as for public and witnesses," he paused, "I'd be happy to accompany you, plus any other people you trust. Make it clear to Connor that you're not alone anymore, that he can't intimidate you into just handing over whatever he wants." Maya looked at Ethan, this near stranger who was offering to stand beside her in a confrontation with her abusive ex, who'd made her dinner and listened to her story without judgment, who was helping her find a way to fight back instead of just run. "Why are you doing this?" Maya asked quietly. "Because it's the right thing to do," Ethan said simply. "And because—" He paused, seeming to weigh his words. "Because I like you, Maya, as a neighbor, as a person. And I don't like seeing someone I care about being terrorized by someone who can't accept that they made their own choices." Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. Hope. Maybe, or the beginning of trust. "Okay," she said. "Let's do this. Let's use the key." As they started planning, Maya realized something had shifted. For 6 months, she'd been running, hiding, trying to make herself invisible. But maybe visibility was actually safer. Witnesses, documentation, proof that she wasn't alone anymore. Connor thought the key would give him access to her. Instead, it was going to be the thing that finally, permanently closed the door between them. Ethan's lawyer friend, Jennifer Park, arrived at Maya's apartment the next morning with a briefcase and a no-nonsense attitude that immediately made Maya feel safer. "So," Jennifer said, settling at Maya's kitchen table with a legal pad, "you want to arrange a public meeting with your ex to return a key he claims he needs, in exchange for documented agreement to cease all contact. Smart approach. Actually, it gives us multiple advantages." "Like what?" Maya asked. "First, it establishes that you're attempting to resolve his stated concern, the key in good faith," Jennifer explained. "Second, if he refuses the terms or continues harassment after accepting them, it's clear evidence of bad faith on his part. Third, it gets him on record acknowledging that once he has the key, he has no legitimate reason to contact you again." "What if he just takes the key and keeps harassing me anyway?" Maya asked. "Then we have a documented violation of a signed agreement, which strengthens any future protective order applications," Jennifer replied. "Maya, no legal document can physically prevent someone from being a creep, but what we can do is build an ironclad paper trail that makes his behavior impossible to justify or minimize." Over the next hour, they drafted a simple agreement. Connor would receive the key in exchange for signing a document stating he had no further property claims, no legitimate reason for future contact, and agreeing to maintain a no-contact policy. Violation of the agreement would constitute harassment and grounds for immediate legal action. "When and where do you want to do this?" Jennifer asked. "Today, if possible," Maya said. "I want this over with, and somewhere very public, maybe that coffee shop on Pike Street, the one that's always crowded." "Good choice," Ethan said. He'd been sitting quietly, listening, occasionally offering input. "Lots of witnesses, security cameras, near a police station. I'll be there, Jennifer." "I'll be there," Jennifer confirmed. "Plus, I'll have an associate present to serve as additional witness." "Maya, you're not going into this alone. Connor will have no opportunity to intimidate or manipulate you without multiple people seeing exactly what happens." Maya texted Connor from a number Jennifer had provided, a temporary phone line that couldn't be traced back to her personally. "I have your key. Meet me at Pike Street Coffee tomorrow at 2 p.m. to retrieve it. Public place, witnesses present. This is your only opportunity." Connor's response came within minutes. "Why all the drama, Maya? Just meet me somewhere normal, alone, like adults." "Public place with witnesses or no key," Maya replied. "Your choice." A long pause, then fine, 2 p.m., but this is ridiculous. "He's agreed," Maya told Jennifer and Ethan, showing them the exchange. "Good," Jennifer said. "Now let's talk about how this goes down. You'll arrive early, position yourself at a table with clear visibility and exits. Ethan and I will be at adjacent tables. My associate will be near the door when Connor arrives. You'll keep the conversation brief and transactional. Hand him the agreement to sign, exchange it for the key once signed, and leave. No extended discussion, no allowing him to pull you into emotional manipulation." "What if he refuses to sign?" Maya asked. "Then you keep the key and leave," Jennifer said simply. "At that point, we've documented that you made a good faith effort to return his property contingent on his agreement to stop harassing you, and he refused. That helps us, not him." That night, Maya barely slept. She kept rehearsing the meeting in her mind, imagining everything that could go wrong. Connor could make a scene, refuse to sign, try to follow her home. Any number of nightmare scenarios. Around 2 a.m., she heard a soft knock on her door. Through the peephole, she saw Ethan, looking concerned. "I saw your light on," Ethan said when she opened the door. "Figured you might be having trouble sleeping, want company. I make excellent hot chocolate." Maya nodded, too exhausted to maintain her usual boundaries. 20 minutes later, they sat on her couch with steaming mugs, the lights of Seattle visible through her window. "I'm terrified," Maya admitted. "Maya, what if seeing him again makes me freeze? What if I can't go through with it?" "Then I'll be right there," Ethan said. "Maya, you've already done the hard part. You left him, built a new life, survived 6 months of looking over your shoulder. This is just the final step in closing that chapter." "Why are you so invested in helping me?" Maya asked. "I'm just your neighbor. You barely know me." Ethan was quiet for a moment, considering. "My mom had a boyfriend like Connor when I was a teenager. Controlling, jealous, eventually violent. She tried to leave him 3 times, and he found her every time. The 4th time, she didn't go alone. She had friends. Resources, a plan, that's what made the difference. Having people who wouldn't let her face him alone. Did it work? Maya asked quietly. She's been free of him for 15 years, Ethan replied. Remarried to someone who actually deserves her, living her best life. But she told me once that the thing that saved her wasn't just leaving. It was having people who made it clear the ex wasn't welcome to keep terrorizing her. That's what I'm trying to be for you, one of those people. Thank you, Maya whispered, for the hot chocolate and the pep talk and for caring. Always, Ethan said simply. The next day arrived too quickly. Maya dressed carefully. Professional, put together. Nothing Connor could interpret as an attempt to appeal to him. Jennifer had advised looking confident and untouchable, like someone who'd moved on completely. At 1:45 p.m., Maya, Ethan and Jennifer arrived at Pike Street Coffee. The place was packed as expected. Students with laptops, business meetings, people grabbing afternoon caffeine. Jennifer's associate, a tall woman named Patricia, was already positioned near the entrance. Table by the window, Jennifer directed. Good sight lines near the barista counter where there are witnesses. Ethan and I will be 3 tables over. Patricia has the door. You're surrounded by people who are paying attention, Maya. Remember that. Maya sat down. The agreement and the key in a folder in front of her. Her hands wanted to shake, but she forced them still. Connor thought he had power over her. Today she was taking that power back. At 2:03 p.m., Connor walked in. He looked exactly as Maya remembered. Tall, handsome, expensively dressed. The picture of a successful professional. No one looking at him would see anything but charm. That was part of what had made him so dangerous. He could turn the manipulation on and off like a switch. His eyes scanned the coffee shop until they found her. Something flickered across his face. Surprise maybe at the public setting and obvious witnesses. He approached her table with his trademark confident stride. Maya, Connor said, his voice warm as if they were old friends meeting for coffee. You look well. Connor, Maya replied, keeping her voice neutral. Sit down. Let's make this quick. Connor sat, his eyes taking in the folder on the table. All this for a key. You always did have a flair for the dramatic. I have your key, Maya said, not rising to the bait. I'm willing to return it in exchange for a signed agreement that you'll cease all contact with me going forward. The agreement is in this folder. Read it, sign it, get your key. That's the deal. Connor leaned back, his expression shifting to amused condescension. An agreement, Maya. I already told you I'd leave you alone. You don't trust my word? No, Maya said simply. I don't. So sign the agreement, or leave without the key. Connor's expression darkened slightly, the mask slipping just enough to reveal the anger underneath. This is unnecessary. We were together for 3 years. Don't I deserve more respect than being treated like a criminal? You harassed me across 3 states, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. Sent threatening texts, showed up at my building, stood outside my door for 4 minutes studying my locks. So no, Connor, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Sign the agreement or leave. You're being unreasonable, Connor said, his voice taking on that dangerous edge she remembered. I came all the way here, made time in my schedule. To get something you claim is yours, Maya interrupted. I'm offering to give it to you. With conditions, take it or leave it. Connor's eyes flicked around the coffee shop, and Maya saw the moment he registered the witnesses, Ethan watching from 3 tables away, Jennifer with her phone clearly recording, Patricia by the door. This wasn't the vulnerable, isolated Maya he remembered. This was someone with backup. Who are these people? Connor asked, gesturing subtly toward Ethan. Witnesses, Maya said, and my lawyer is recording this conversation, so choose your words carefully. Connor's jaw tightened. For a moment, Maya thought he might explode, might cause the scene he was clearly considering, but then he seemed to recognize that any outburst would only prove her point. Fine, he said tightly, pulling the folder toward him. Let me see this agreement. He read through it slowly, his expression growing progressively more frustrated. This is absurd. No contact of any kind for any reason. What if there's a legitimate emergency? Then you contact someone else, Maya said. Connor, sign the agreement or give me back the folder and leave. Those are your only options. Connor stared at her for a long moment, clearly trying to intimidate her into backing down, but Maya held his gaze, refusing to flinch. Finally, Connor pulled out a pen and signed with aggressive, sharp strokes. "There, happy? Can I have my key now?" Maya pulled the signed agreement back, checked the signature, then slid the key across the table. "That's it. We're done. Don't contact me again, Connor, ever." Connor grabbed the key, standing abruptly. "This is ridiculous, Maya. You're being paranoid and vindictive. I hope you realize that." "I'm being smart," Maya corrected, "and protecting myself. Goodbye, Connor." He stared at her for another moment, then turned and left, his exit slightly too forceful to be casual. Maya watched through the window as he walked away, disappearing into Seattle's afternoon crowds. "Well done," Jennifer said, appearing at her table. "That went exactly as planned. He signed. You have documentation." And he looked extremely uncomfortable being in a public setting where his usual manipulation tactics didn't work. He looked angry, Maya said, her hands finally starting to shake now that it was over. "He was angry," Ethan agreed, sitting down beside her. "Because you took away his power, Maya. That was incredible. You were strong and clear, and didn't give him an inch." "I feel like I might throw up," Maya admitted. "That's normal," Jennifer assured her. "Adrenaline dump. But Maya, you did it. You faced him, set terms, got documentation, and walked away. That's a victory." Over the next few days, Maya waited for the other shoe to drop, for Connor to violate the agreement, send more texts, show up at her building again, but nothing came. Radio silence. "It's been 72 hours, Ethan observed on Sunday evening, when he'd come over with Thai food. Their new routine, apparently. No contact, no violations. Maybe the agreement and the public confrontation actually worked. Or maybe he's planning something worse, Maya said, unable to shake the paranoia. "Or maybe," Ethan said gently, "he realized he'd lost, that you're not the scared, isolated person he remembers, that you have people, resources, documentation, that continuing to harass you was only going to make his life harder, not yours." Maya wanted to believe that, wanted to trust that the signed agreement and the witnesses had been enough to convince Connor that pursuing her wasn't worth the trouble. "I threw the key away," Maya said suddenly. "After the meeting, dropped it in a public trash can on Pike Street. I didn't want it in my apartment anymore." "Good," Ethan said. "It served its purpose. You don't need it anymore." "It's weird," Maya admitted. "For 6 months I've been so focused on staying hidden from Connor, and now after facing him directly, I feel lighter, like maybe I can actually move forward instead of just away." "That's because you took back control," Ethan said. "You stopped letting him dictate the terms of your life. That's powerful, Maya." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, eating pad thai and watching the sunset over Elliott Bay. Then Ethan spoke carefully. "Can I ask you something, and you can absolutely say no if I'm overstepping?" "Okay," Maya said cautiously. "Would you want to go to dinner with me sometime? Actual dinner. Not just me bringing takeout to your apartment like a date," Maya's breath caught. She'd been carefully not thinking about the fact that Ethan was attractive, kind, supportive, exactly the kind of person she might be interested in if her life wasn't such a mess. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," Maya said honestly. "Ethan, you've been amazing, but I just got out of a horrible relationship 6 months ago. I'm still healing." "I know," Ethan said, "and I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. But Maya, I like you a lot, and whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I want you to know that's something I'd be interested in exploring. No pressure, no timeline, just possibility." Maya looked at him, at the genuine affection in his expression, and felt something unclench in her chest. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need," Ethan replied. "I'm not going anywhere." 2 weeks later, Detective Chen called with news. Connor had been arrested in Portland for violating a protective order with a different ex-girlfriend, apparently. Maya wasn't his only victim. He was facing charges that could result in jail time. "He's someone else's problem now," Detective Chen told Maya, "and between the arrest and the signed agreement you got from him, I doubt he'll be contacting you again anytime soon. You're safe, Maya." Safe. The word felt foreign but increasingly true. Connor was gone. The key had served its purpose, and Maya was finally genuinely free to build a life that wasn't defined by fear. That evening, she knocked on Ethan's door. When he answered, she said simply, "About that dinner. I think I'm ready." Ethan's smile was brilliant. Yeah, Maya confirmed. I'm ready to start moving forward instead of just away if the offer's still open. Always, Ethan said. As they made plans, Maya realized the key had been a symbol of everything Connor had held over her. Access, control, power. Giving it back had closed that door permanently. And now standing in Ethan's doorway talking about first dates and new beginnings, she understood something important. Closing one door had opened another, one that led somewhere she actually wanted to go. 3 months after the coffee shop confrontation, Maya stood in front of her bathroom mirror, getting ready for a work event, and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd checked over her shoulder. The constant hypervigilance that had defined her life for so long had gradually faded into something approaching normal awareness. Connor hadn't contacted her, not once. Detective Chen had confirmed he'd pled guilty to stalking charges in Portland and received probation plus a 3-year restraining order. The signed agreement from Seattle had been submitted as additional evidence of his pattern of harassment. Between the legal consequences and the very public documentation of his behavior, Connor had apparently decided Maya wasn't worth pursuing anymore. "You look beautiful," Ethan said, appearing in the bathroom doorway. They'd been officially dating for 2 months now, and he'd gradually transitioned from the neighbor across the hall to the person who spent most nights at her apartment, or she at his, ready for the gallery opening. "As ready as I'll ever be," Maya replied. She'd been promoted at work, senior marketing director, and tonight's event was celebrating the launch of a campaign she'd spent months developing. It felt surreal to be attending something professional and celebratory, instead of spending her evening hiding from an ex. "Your brother called while you were in the shower," Ethan said. "Wanted to confirm he'll be here next weekend for Thanksgiving." Marcus had visited 3 times since the Connor incident, each visit ending with him quietly approving of Ethan. "He's good for you," Marcus had told Maya during his last visit. "Supportive without being controlling, protective without being possessive. That's the difference you deserve to see." At the gallery, Maya mingled with colleagues and clients, discussing campaign strategy and creative direction without the exhaustion that used to accompany public events. For 3 years with Connor, every social interaction had been monitored, analyzed, used as ammunition in later arguments. Now she could simply exist, talk to whomever she wanted and not worry about how it would be weaponized later. "Maya Rodriguez." A woman's voice, unfamiliar, slightly hesitant. Maya turned to find a petite blonde in her early 30s, holding a wine glass with white-knuckled tension. "Yes," Maya said cautiously. "I'm Lauren Chen," the woman said. Connor's most recent ex before you. I saw your name in the police report when I filed my protective order. I hope it's not weird that I tracked you down, but I wanted to thank you." Maya felt her stomach tighten, but Ethan's hand found hers immediately, grounding. "Thank me." "For the documentation," Lauren said. "The signed agreement you got Connor to sign, the witness statements from your confrontation, all of that was submitted as evidence in my case. It helped establish his pattern of behavior. The judge cited it specifically when granting my order and setting his probation terms." "I'm glad it helped," Maya said quietly. "Lauren, I'm sorry you went through that too." "We both did," Lauren replied. "But Maya, the fact that you documented everything so carefully, that you had witnesses and legal support, it made my case so much stronger. I might not have gotten the protection I needed without your groundwork." After Lauren moved on to rejoin her own group, Maya leaned into Ethan. "I didn't realize the documentation would help anyone else." "That's the thing about standing up to abusers," Ethan said. "It's never just about you. Connor's pattern needed to be established, and you did that. You helped yourself and apparently other people he targeted." The thought made Maya feel something she hadn't expected. Pride. Not just relief at escaping, but actual pride in how she'd handled it. The planning, the witnesses, the careful documentation, all of it had mattered. A week later, Maya was working from home when building security called, "Ms. Rodriguez, there's a delivery here for you. The courier says it requires signature and ID verification. Are you comfortable coming down to collect it?" Maya's first instinct was fear. What if this was Connor finding a way around the no-contact agreement? But she pushed the paranoia down. "What kind of delivery?" "Legal documents from a Portland law office," security replied. "I can verify the courier's credentials before you come down if you'd like." "Please do that," Maya said. 5 minutes later, She collected a certified envelope from a legitimate courier. Inside was a letter from Connor's probation officer, informing her that Connor had requested permission to send a one-time communication through official channels. Per the terms of his probation, Maya's hands shook as she opened the second envelope, which contained a single page in Connor's handwriting. Maya, my attorney and probation officer, have made clear this is the only communication I'm permitted to send you, and only with your prior consent to receive it. If you're reading this, I assume consent was granted. I'm not writing to ask for anything or to justify my actions. I'm writing because my court-ordered therapy has made me confront things I spent years denying. What I did to you, the control, the intimidation, the refusal to accept your boundaries, was abuse. I see that now in a way I couldn't before. You were right to leave, right to document everything, right to refuse to see me alone. All the things I called paranoid or vindictive were actually you protecting yourself from someone who'd proven he couldn't be trusted. That person was me. I don't expect forgiveness, I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that the legal consequences, the documentation you created, the public confrontation, all of it forced me to face what I'd been doing, not just to you, but to Lauren, to women before her. I've hurt people because I couldn't accept that relationships require mutual respect. Not control. I'm in treatment now, actual treatment, not the performative therapy I claimed to be doing when I wanted you back. I'm learning to recognize my patterns, to understand why I behave the way I do. It doesn't excuse anything, but I hope it means I won't hurt anyone else the way I hurt you. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve a life where you're not constantly looking over your shoulder. I hope you found that. I won't contact you again, ever. Not because an agreement says I can't, but because you asked me not to, and I should have respected that the first time you said it. I'm sorry, Maya, for all of it. Connor. Maya read the letter twice, trying to process the emotions flooding through her. This wasn't the Connor she remembered, all charm and manipulation and carefully crafted words designed to regain control. This felt genuine, like someone who'd actually faced their own behavior and found it horrifying. You okay? Ethan asked, finding her sitting at the kitchen table staring at the letter. Maya handed it to him. Connor's probation officer facilitated this one-time communication, apparently part of his treatment program. She stopped. He's apologizing, actually apologizing, not the fake kind where they're really just asking for another chance. Ethan read the letter carefully. This seems sincere, but Maya, you don't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not acknowledgement, nothing. If you want to ignore this completely, that's absolutely your right. I know, Maya said, and I don't forgive him, what he did. 3 years of my life where I was constantly afraid, constantly walking on eggshells. That's not something I can just forgive because he's finally in therapy. But, Ethan prompted gently. But I'm glad he's getting help, Maya admitted. Not for me, but for whoever he might have hurt next if he didn't, Lauren, future partners. I'm glad the legal consequences forced him into actual treatment. That's fair, Ethan said. You can be glad he's getting help without forgiving him for needing to hurt multiple women before he'd accept it. Maya looked at the letter again, then carefully folded it and placed it in a file folder she kept with all the Connor-related documentation. The threatening texts, the signed agreement, the police reports, evidence of what had happened and how she'd survived it. I'm not responding, Maya decided. He said he won't contact me again, and I believe him, or at least I believe he understands the consequences if he does, but I'm keeping this letter just in case. Just in case, Ethan agreed. That weekend, Marcus arrived for Thanksgiving, over dinner prep in Maya's apartment, now fully decorated with plants and artwork and evidence of a life being lived instead of just survived. Marcus pulled her aside. You look different, he observed. Happier, more settled. I feel different, Maya admitted. Marcus, I spent 3 years with Connor waiting for him to change, to become the person he pretended to be at the beginning, and then I spent 6 months after leaving waiting for him to show up, to punish me for escaping. But he's not coming, it's really over. Because you made it over, Marcus pointed out. You didn't just run, Maya, you documented, you got witnesses, you faced him with terms, you took control of the situation instead of just reacting to it. Ethan helped, Maya said, watching Ethan and Marcus's girlfriend Sarah laughing over the turkey preparations. I couldn't have done the confrontation alone. But you let him help, Marcus replied. That's what's different now. You're not trying to handle everything alone anymore. Later that evening, after dinner when everyone was settling in with coffee and pie, Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number made her freeze for a split second, that old fear response still lingering. But when she opened it, the message was from Lauren. Hi Maya, hope it's okay, I got your number from the police report. Just wanted you to know Connor completed his first phase of court-ordered treatment. His therapist submitted a progress report that was actually promising, wanted to tell you because I know how much you're owed closure. You helped make this happen, thank you. Maya showed the message to Ethan. Lauren says Connor's making progress in treatment. How do you feel about that? Ethan asked. Relieved, Maya said honestly. Not for Connor, but for whoever he might have hurt if he didn't get help, and she paused, and maybe a little vindicated. That standing up to him, documenting everything, forcing consequences, it actually led to something not just for me, but systemically. That's powerful, Ethan said. Maya, you turned your survival into something that protected other people. That's not nothing. 6 months after the coffee shop confrontation, Maya opened her jewelry box to put away a new necklace Ethan had given her for her birthday. Her eyes caught on the empty space where the key had sat for so long. She'd thrown it away that day, dropped it in a public trash can, watched it disappear. But the space it had occupied remained, a small indentation in the velvet lining. Maya ran her finger over the impression, thinking about what that key had represented. Connor's access, his control, his belief that he had the right to come back into her life whenever he wanted, but using it as leverage, turning it into the thing that got her documented evidence and a signed agreement, that had transformed it from a symbol of his power to a symbol of hers. What are you thinking about? Ethan asked, appearing in the bedroom doorway. The key, Maya said, how much power I gave it, and how good it felt to finally let it go. You didn't just let it go, Ethan pointed out, coming to stand beside her. You used it, strategically, brilliantly. You took something that represented his control and turned it into your freedom. We did, Maya corrected. I couldn't have done that confrontation without you, without Jennifer, without the whole support system I'd spent years avoiding building. Ethan wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. So what are you going to put in that space, the empty spot where the key used to be? Maya considered the question. The indentation in her jewelry box was small but noticeable, a reminder of what she'd carried and what she'd overcome. Nothing, Maya decided. I'm leaving it empty, as a reminder that I survived, that I was strong enough to face something I'd been running from, and that I'm never going back to being that afraid again. That's perfect, Ethan said, kissing her temple, a scar, not a wound. 1 year after leaving Connor, Maya stood in her apartment, which had somehow become their apartment, with Ethan's architecture books mingling with her marketing portfolios, his coffee mugs beside her tea collection, and realized she'd gone an entire week without thinking about her ex at all, a week without checking over her shoulder, without flinching at unknown numbers, without that low-level anxiety that had become such a constant companion. She'd forgotten what its absence felt like. I think I'm actually okay, Maya told Ethan that evening. Not just surviving or getting through it. Actually genuinely okay. You've been okay for a while, Ethan observed, but I'm glad you're feeling it now. I got offered a promotion, Maya said. VP of Marketing. It would mean traveling more, higher profile, my name and face more public. A year ago, that would have terrified me. The thought of being visible, of Connor being able to track me, I would have turned it down immediately. And now, Ethan asked. Now I'm taking it, Maya said firmly, because Connor doesn't get to control my career choices. He doesn't get to make me small or invisible or afraid. I'm done letting him have that power. I'm proud of you, Ethan said, for everything. For leaving, for fighting back, for building this life, but mostly for deciding to live it loudly instead of quietly. That night, Maya took the letter Connor had sent, the apology she'd never responded to, and added it to the file of documentation she kept, evidence of what had happened and how it had ended. Then she closed the file and put it away in the back of her closet. Not forgotten, but not front and center anymore either. Part of her history, but not her present. She had a VP promotion to celebrate, a relationship with someone who treated her with respect and genuine affection, and a brother who was getting married next summer and had asked her to be his best woman. She had a life that wasn't defined by fear, And she had learned something crucial. The key Connor had wanted back, the one he'd used as an excuse to maintain contact, to show up at her building, to keep that thread of control, had never been about the key at all. It had been about access, about maintaining even the smallest connection, about refusing to accept that Maya had chosen to close the door between them. But by using that key as leverage, by turning it into documentation and witnesses and a signed agreement, Maya had done something Connor never expected. She'd turned his weapon into hers, and then she'd thrown it away. Because she didn't need weapons anymore. She had something better. Legal documentation, a support system, and the unshakable certainty that she deserved better than what Connor had offered 2 years after leaving. Maya barely thought about Connor at all. When she did, triggered by a news story about domestic violence or a conversation with Lauren, who'd become a friend, it was with distance, like remembering a difficult chapter in a book she'd already finished reading. "Sometimes I forget how scared I used to be," Maya told Ethan one evening. They were planning a move to a bigger place, a house with a yard, room for the future they were building. "It feels like a different person, someone I used to be but aren't anymore." "You're not a different person," Ethan corrected gently. "You're the same person, just safe enough now to be yourself completely. The fear wasn't you, Maya. It was what Connor did to you, and now that he's gone, you get, just be." Such simple words for something that had felt impossible for so long. Maya looked around their apartment, at the life they'd built together, plants thriving on every surface, photos from vacations and family gatherings, evidence of a life being lived instead of just survived. The space in her jewelry box where the key had once sat remained empty, a reminder and a promise. She'd survived. She'd fought back, she'd closed the door, and Connor, wherever he was now, couldn't open it again.